Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome everyone to the English class for the first intermediate grade. Our textbook is Super Goal 2 and today we will cover the expansion units 5 to 8. The lesson is reading. This lesson will be presented by me, teacher Mazen Al-Harbi, and the sign language by Mr. Saleh Al-Ujan. So let's begin. Our objectives, of course, in today's lesson, we hope that we can read a text and elicit some important information out of this text, and also to answer questions from a text. Before we do this, let's make a quick revision on our last lesson. Last lesson was the language review, and in that lesson, we have completed some of the conversations using was, where, wasn't, or weren't. And we have learned the differences between was and where. We said that we use was with certain subject pronouns like he, she, or it. And we use where with certain subject pronouns like I, you, we, or they. And here we have these are the answers of the previous lesson. So we had more than 4 conversations and we answered these conversations with either using was or where, wasn't, or weren't. Not only this, but also we completed another conversation, but this time not with the was or where, but with expressions. So we have expressions like this one, and we said it's important that we read lots of conversations just to try to have an idea and to learn how to practice the everyday conversations in English. So here we have these expressions. So you had lots of fun. What did you do there? How was your trip to London? What was it like? Show me your photos sometimes. And who did you go with? And so we use these expressions and questions we add them here in the conversation. And the conversation was between Greg and Imad, and one of them went to London, so they are started to experiencing and asking questions about that trip. So this is also the other part of the conversation and how we continued that conversation, and also we completed with these expressions. Not only this, but we had a very interesting exercise where I ask you to write a schedule about the things that you did last week. And I said that here you have a table is divided into 3 parts. The first part is about the days. And also the second part is a question. What did you do on that day? And then I said that imagine that you have a partner next to you, or call a partner to sit next to you and complete this table with you, and write down what are the things that he did. So we had, and I said that ask him a simple question like this. What did you do on Saturday, for example? And when he answers, you go and write down the things that he did on that day. Not only this, but also write down the things that you did on your personal part in here in the middle. And what is important here is that when we're talking about the things that we did last week, it's very important that we use them in the simple past. We use them in the simple past. Like, for example, when I say, I played football at the park. So this is something that I did in the past. I studied. I went. I visited. Also, when you're talking about other person, you do the same. For example, when you say, he went, he watched, he traveled. So all of these are very important. Also, the other part of that question, which is when you talk about the things that you would do in the future. So, for example, the same in next week. So here you wrote the days, and here you answer this question about you. What are you going to do in the future? So you start writing down some answers, but this time in the future form. You would say, I am going to visit the library on Monday. And I am going to buy the new shoes on Wednesday. I am going to invite my cousins on Thursday. So this is how can we answer, or how can we have learned how can we use the future form of these questions. So here is also we have in the next one when you're talking about your partner. So he's going to practice at the gym, he's going to go, he's going to do all of these. So this is also an important question, just to know the differences on how can we use the future form, or to express the things that we will do in the future and the things that we did in the past. And also we have completed this answer by asking a simple question, and those questions were totally about you. For example, what did you do, or what did you wear yesterday? What time did you go to bed? And what time did you eat for lunch? And the first person you talked to, and so on. So all of these questions are questions that about you and about also the things that you did in the past. So now let's start with our lesson today. Our lesson today is about reading. So I'd like you please to open your books on page 74. I would like you please to open your books on page 74. On page 74, here I have a very important question to ask you, which is, what is your favorite place in your town? What is your favorite place in your town, in your city, the place that you would like to go to often, and the place that I would say, the place that where you want to call your friends there, and when you want to spend most of your time there, and why? We can learn, or we can hear that some of our friends may say that his favorite place, or his favorite hangout place, the place that he likes to stay in, which is the mall. Some of them would say the park. Some of them would say, for example, movie theater. And so all of us have his own. Some of them would say a cafe. So all of us have our own favorite place, that kind of place that we like to spend most of our times in. So I'm asking you, what is your favorite place in your town? And when you think of that place, tell me why. Why did you like it? For example, when someone said, my favorite place in my town is the national park, for example. And I chose the national park because it has a great view, and because it has a lot of trees, a lot of green areas, and there are a lot of spacious playground, and it has a nice atmosphere. So there are a lot of reasons a person can say about his favorite place. So I would like you to keep it in mind, your favorite place, before we move on to read our text for today. So today we have a text that calls My Favorite Hangout Place. My favorite hangout place. My favorite place that I would like to spend most of the time in. So we're going to read this text. After this, we're going to answer a couple of questions. So what we need to do here is that I'm going to read this text for you for the first time. And for the second time, while I'm reading, you try to follow with me and read silently with me while I am reading. So let's begin with the first part. My favorite hangout place. My name is Walter Tan. I am from Alberta, Canada. My favorite hangout place is the West Edmonton Mall. The mall is one of the largest in the world, and it is a tourist attraction. There are 800 stores, a hotel, and 110 restaurants. It has an amusement park with 47 different rides, a swimming pool with a sand beach, an ice rink, an aquarium, and a miniature golf course. But my favorite place is the video arcade. I was there with friends last weekend. We walked around to see if there were any new games before we started playing. We spent the whole afternoon there before we decided it was time to get something to eat. So now, I have read the first part for you. Now, I'm going to read again, but this time I'm going to point at each word that I'm reading, and I would like you to follow with me and read silently as well. My favorite hangout place. My name is Walter Tan. I am from Alberta, Canada. My favorite hangout place is the West Edmonton Mall. The mall is one of the largest in the world, and it is a tourist attraction. There are 800 stores, a hotel, and 110 restaurants. It has an amusement park with 47 different rides, a swimming pool with a sand beach, an ice rink, an aquarium, and a miniature golf course. But my favorite place is the video arcade. I was there with friends last weekend. We walked around to see if there were any new games before we started playing. We spent the whole afternoon there before we decided it was time to get something to eat. Now, we have read the first part. Let's move on to the second one. I wanted to try vegetarian food, but my friends wanted to go to a new Italian restaurant. I like different kinds of food, and many Italian dishes don't have meat, so I agreed. We walked in, but there were no tables. It was really crowded. So we decided to go to the Chinese restaurant near the arcade, but it was closed. They all looked at me as if it was my fault. Anyway, we went to the food court. They got sandwiches or noodles, and I got salad, so everyone was happy. Again, I'm going to read this time while I'm pointing, so you try to read with me. I wanted to try vegetarian food, but my friends wanted to go to a new Italian restaurant. I like different kinds of food, and many Italian dishes don't have meat. So I agreed. We walked in, but there were no tables. It was really crowded, so we decided to go to the Chinese restaurant near the arcade, but it was closed. They all looked at me as if it was my fault. Anyway, we went to the food court. They got sandwiches or noodles, and I got salad. So everyone was happy. So in this text, the man talked about his favorite place, which is the mall, and specifically the mall he liked the video arcade. And he said that I invited my friends to go there and to play different games. And he said when we decided to go to an Italian restaurant, we didn't find any because it was really crowded, lots of people in there. So what did they do? They went to eat sandwiches or noodle near that place. So this man talks about his favorite place and also talks about the actions that happened there. So one of the phrases that we have come across, which is hangout place. And what I mean by hangout place is that a place that you like to spend most of your time at. So now I'm going to ask you again, compare when we talk about, before reading this text, about your favorite place, compare your favorite place with the favorite place that Walter's chose. And what do you think? What do you think about your place and his place? What are the good things about each of these places and the bad things? So now let's try to answer the question in exercise B. Here we have 6 questions. We need to answer them about the text that we have just read. So let's begin with the first one. Read the text and answer the question. The first one we have is, where is Walter from? Where do you think Walter from, according to the text that we have just read? Very good. He is from Alberta, Canada. Question number 2. What is the name of his favorite hangout place? So Walter talks about his favorite hangout place. What do you think the name was? Very good. He said that my favorite hangout place is the West Edmonton Mall. And the third question is, how large is the mall? What kinds of shops, surfaces, and other facilities does it have? So the answer is, it is one of the largest malls in the world. And it has 800 stores, a hotel, and 100 restaurants. Not only this, but also an amusement park, a swimming pool, an ice rink, an aquarium, a miniature golf course, and a video arcade. The fourth one. What is Walter's favorite place in the mall? Walter talks about his favorite place in that mall specifically, and he said that in the mall is the video arcade. And the fifth one, what did Walter and his friends do last weekend? They say that they did something last weekend, which is that they went to the video arcade, then they went to get something to eat. And the sixth question we have, and the last one, what did they want to eat and what did they finally eat? So they talked about something happened when they decided to eat. The answer is that Walter wanted to try vegetarian food, but his friends wanted to go to a new Italian restaurant. So then they wanted Chinese food, but the restaurant was closed, so finally they ate sandwiches, noodles, and salad. So this is what did they come up with. So here you go. These are the answers of the reading text we have just read. So remember, it's very important that when we have our favorite place, and also and how can we use word to express why we chose that place and why it is our favorite, and we can have some ideas from the text that Walter talks about. Now, the last thing we will do in today's lesson, which is I would like you to tell your partner what happened to Walter and his friends when they tried to get something to eat. So look for maybe a family member or a friend of yours or maybe a classmate and tell them about the things that happened to Walter when he decided to have something to eat at that mall. And think about yourself. Do you usually face the same problem? Do you usually face the same problem as Walter's? Just think of it when you tell this story to the people around you. So now we have reached the end of our lesson. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.